Hey guys, welcome back, and if you're new to this channel, my name is Matt. I'm a junior doctor working in London and I make videos mostly on medicine, mindset and productivity. Today I'm going to be talking about everything you need to know about the online sitting of MRCP Part 1. I took this exam in September 2020 and managed to pass it with a scaled mark in the top 10%, and honestly it was a completely new experience for me just doing it in the comforts of my own home. So weird in fact that I wanted to make a video guide to show other candidates what to expect and the information you need to know when setting up and when you're doing the exam itself. I'm going to split this video into three main sections. First of all, how you set up and planning before the exam day. Second of all, what it's like on the exam day and what you need to do. And third of all, just my own personal exam experiences and reflections. So just before we begin, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Pastest who made this video possible. They'd seen my personal exam experiences and journeys and reflections and wanted to collaborate with me to make a resource for future MRCP Part 1 candidates. I used quite a few of their resources while I was studying as well, so definitely check them out if you're thinking about taking the exam.
So let's start off by talking about the things that we need for the exam. First and foremost, obviously we need the laptop, which includes the webcam, the mic and the speakers. And if you don't have them or they don't work, you can easily buy one online. I think webcams externally cost about £30 and mic somewhere around the same ballpark. Moving on, we have our mobile phone, which we need to install the app for, the Proctor Exam app, which we'll go into a bit more detail later, and that acts as a second camera for the exam. Good old pen and paper, which you're allowed to bring into the exam and make notes on, and then you have to tear up after the exam. And then obviously chargers for both your laptop and your phone, just to keep them going throughout the exam.
Before your exam day, get comfortable with the interface of Google Chrome because that is the recommended browser for the exam. You also need to install an extension called the Proctor Exam Screen Sharing Extension, which allows them to look at your screen while you're doing the exam itself on the day. Make sure you also have pop-ups enabled on Google Chrome, or you can do this on the day when the notification comes up. On your phone, you'll need to install the Proctor Exam app, and you need this on the actual exam day itself. Finally, a few days before the exam, the MRCP board will send you a link to do something called a system check, and this is essentially where they ask you to test your webcam, your microphone, your speakers, and your internet connection. Also allows you to test the app on your phone and whether it links up with the computer. Now that we've got the IT down, we can look at setting up the room. So first and foremost, make sure your walls and wardrobes are clear, and that means removing any notes or posters stuck onto it. Make sure the desk that you're taking the exam on is clear as well, remove any speakers, any monitors, and give yourself plenty of space to have your laptop and your notes on the day. By the computer, make sure you have ports for your laptop charger. If you're using Ethernet, then make sure that is plugged in and working as well. You'll need to find a platform around 2 to 3 meters away from where you're sitting, where you'll be placing your mobile phone on the exam day for the examiners to have a second angle. And make sure you can plug in a mobile phone charger around the area as well. If you've got flatmates, just put a sign on your door to make sure that they're aware of it and they don't come barging in during the exam. And don't forget, if you have any pets, make sure they're locked away as well. So exam day has finally rolled around. Within 24 hours of starting the exam board will send you a link to get you into the exam room portal. What happens is that you need to do a series of checks. First of all, they'll ask you to check your ID, and you can use your passport or your driving license, which they'll ask you to show on your webcam for verification. They then ask you to scan around the area, including your laptop, the area around your desk, underneath your desk, the walls, all 4 sides of the ceilings, as well as just the room around you. The next step is setting up your phone. As I mentioned, it needs to be on a ledge around 2 to 3 meters away from you, facing you with a clear field of the desk, you and the area around you. Make sure it is securely propped up so it doesn't fall during the exam, it's plugged into the socket so it doesn't lose battery halfway through the exam, and that it is on airplane mode but connected to Wi-Fi. Don't forget to turn off notifications. Just like if you were going to sit the exam in person, they've also introduced regulations for the online sitting at home. They have a list of them on their website, and I have them out here now. I was just going to go through them and tell you about them as well. Here goes the list. So no looking at a mobile phone or tablet, okay. Wearing earplugs or headphones. This is just something to bear in mind if you're in a loud environment at home. You're not allowed to wear earplugs. I mean, I definitely could have benefited from a pair in my sitting, to be honest. You're not allowed to wear any clothing with the ability to hide materials, so a hooded jumper for example, and they do check this as well during verification. No sunglasses or smart glasses unless permitted for medical reasons, although I assume normal glasses are going to be okay. Not allowed to wear a watch, not allowed to continuously look around in any direction. This is something that I do in every exam, just looking around. And although I think it's slightly ridiculous for them to say that they're going to penalize you for this, I think they will take it into proportion. Obviously they know that candidates look around when they're studying or doing an exam, so I think it's just something to be aware of. Not allowed to leave the room without permission from the invigilator. Not allowed to look at hands or wrists. I mean, I get that they don't want you to have notes here or anything, but I mean, my hand is literally on the laptop while I'm doing it. I mean, another thing just to take into account. So you're not allowed to access other web pages or applications, so obviously no making notes on Word or Excel or using a different browser, no screenshots, not allowed to talk to anyone outside the room or have anyone else entering, so that's why the sign is important, especially if you've got flatmates. You're not allowed multiple screens, so if you have a second monitor like I do, take it out to the room before you start your exam. No textbooks or notes in an exam environment, but you are allowed a blank piece of paper for you to make notes, which you then have to tear apart after the exam. No calculators, no vaping or smoking, and they need to make sure they have a clear, bright view of your face. So all in all, what you would expect, although one or two of them I would say are a bit funny. I imagine the invigilators will probably take that with a pinch of salt though. I mean, you can't really penalize someone for looking in a general direction, but just bear that in the back of your mind. So during the exam, you'll have access to two main contacts. The first one being the technical team and the second one being the invigilator themselves. In terms of formatting, in the top left you'll have a countdown timer telling you how much time you've got left in the exam, a bar on the left hand side which allows you to scroll from questions 1 to 100, and on the entire right and middle side is the question formatting itself. Once you start the exam, you'll have 3 hours to complete each paper, and for security reasons they don't actually let you leave the exam early, so you can take your time and use up the entire period. Don't forget that you can't change tabs during the exam, you have to stay on the Google Chrome page itself. You can go to the toilet, but you need to make sure you get permission from your invigilator. All you need to do is message them in their chat and they'll give you permission to go. Finally, after you finish the exam and before you close the page, you'll need to show the invigilator in front of the camera that you've torn up your notes. And after all that, you do it again for the second paper. Honestly, never in my life would I have expected to take a major medical exam in the comforts of my own home. It was definitely a really interesting experience and oddly comforting because I did the exam in my pajamas, but it was definitely nice not to have to worry about food, traveling to the venue, whether I needed jumpers because the room was going to be too cold, whether people were going to distract me. Overall, the platform for the exam itself was a fairly intuitive experience. One thing that did bug me though was actually just when you were trying to change questions, there would always be a 2 to 3 second lag between moving on to the next question or even going back to an old question. It's not a deal breaker, but that did really bug me a little when I was doing my exam. I probably lost around 2 to 3 minutes in the entire exam just trying to move between questions. And I only bring this up because it's not an issue that you encounter when you're doing the paper exam, and if you're in a time pressure situation like an exam, every minute counts. Also, can I just say how weird it feels to have two cameras around you, not even just one, two cameras facing you and watching you constantly. I know when I record videos I have to talk into a camera, but just doing the exam and trying to concentrate on something else, while in the back of my mind I was conscious that someone was looking at my every movement on my screen and looking at me and on the side of me, it was just very awkward. And also just the fact that I like to gaze around and reset my vision when I'm doing the exam, just had to be conscious about where I averted my gaze. It didn't end up being too much of an issue because once you start concentrating, you really focus and forget about everything else. But some might see that as a disadvantage of the online sitting if they're a bit more self-conscious. In terms of troubleshooting, if you encounter issues on the IT or the platform, there is always, as I mentioned, a tech team and a vigilator who will be there to answer any questions. Unfortunately, our cohort did experience some technical issues that they weren't able to solve. Over 10% of my second paper ended up showing up incomplete, and my invigilators and the technical team weren't very responsive in terms of the clarification of the situation and how or whether I should reset my computer or if there were any fixes. The issue has since been acknowledged by the MRCP board and they have taken that into consideration when they've distributed their marks, but that's just something to be aware of. And to be honest, when you're doing an exam on a computer, that is just a risk that you need to be aware of. Because it's tech-based, there is always the risk of failure. Computers, laptops, Wi-Fi, the number of times I've had my Wi-Fi die on me, this could happen in the exam itself and you need to be prepared for that. So what I would recommend is having a spare backup laptop and having a spare mobile phone as well as chargers in case something breaks down. You genuinely never know, and better safe than sorry. Thanks again to Pastest for making this video possible. If you're studying for the MRCP Part 1 exam, have a look at their MRCP Part 1 free trial, which include 100 questions, a past paper, videos and podcasts, all available on your computer or via their free mobile app. Their question bank has tons of features to make your revision more focused and productive, and they've recently introduced an expanded explanation section which goes through conditions to give you the information you need on problems and conditions to pass the exam. I love their resources when preparing for MRCP Part 1 and I think you will too. Check it out and I'll put the link in the description below. So that is it guys, and I hope this video has brought you guys some clarification on the online sitting for MRCP Part 1. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments down below in the comment section if you would like any further clarification on anything. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to press the like button and to subscribe to my channel to see more videos on MRCP, medicine, mindset, and my life as a doctor. Best of luck to anyone sitting the exam, and I will see you guys in the next video.